I want to thank Heaven's grace and the virtues of our masters, grand predecessors, transmitters, temple masters, and other lecturers for giving me the opportunity to give an introduction on the Platform Sutra, all right, by our sixth Patriarch. There are many translations of the Platform Sutra. There are English translations. This is one of them. There are many, and this is not. And like all translations, especially on sutras, like the Diamond Sutra or even Tao Te Ching, etc. There are they're not perfect. Let's put it this way. And some are, in certain areas are better than others. So if we, you could go online or whatever and look up, the English or translated versions of the Platform Sutra. In our case, what we're talking about. And if you read it, if you read the translations, and just like any sutra, just like Diamond Sutra, it is very. You only, what you're reading is unfortunately just like a story, and it's not. And in terms of the substance, the 本体 or the content, the substance, the essence, you're not going to glean too much, and that's the problem with I would say all of these translations of all the translations of Buddhism, of Buddhist scriptures, or Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching, etc., etc. Okay, and that's to be expected because when they translate it, they don't go in depth, or maybe, let me put it this way: they only translate the meaning of the words. They're not really looking at it from the perspective of the Tao. So so that's the critical issue. So what Lecturer Liu, well, he passed away recently, last year. He was a monk. He didn't graduate from even middle school, I believe. I forgot how.
He started at 13.
Yeah, 13. That's it. Yeah, 13, or he entered the monastery and he became a monk for like 20 plus years, right? Almost 30 years. Yeah, he was a monk. Liu Jiangshi. No, he entered the monastery. He
worked in the temple.
No, he's not a monk, in the sense that we know. But he joined the monastery. Let's just put it that way. He joined the monastery, and he was he was being trained as a medium. What we call channeling medium. But he learned. When he joined the monastery, he lived in the monastery. He didn't live at home. So that's where he learned he read a lot of the Buddhist scriptures. Essentially, he's like a monk. Just that he didn't shave his head and stuff like that and wear the robe. But he was a vegetarian, etc., etc., etc. And that's where he learned a lot of the Buddhist scriptures. But he did not receive the Tao. It's only like 30 years later, after entering the monastery, that's when he received the Tao. And when he received the Tao, the three treasures, and he realized, that Buddha nature, he was able to make that connection between that and all the Buddha scriptures. So, what essentially, after 30, 40 years, when he gave the lecture, he was in his 60s, right? Yeah, roughly 60s.
Oh.
Yeah, almost 60s. Yeah, roughly 60s. Yeah, 差不多60几岁归空嘛 right? 几十岁。差不多60. Yeah, 70. Yeah, but before that, so basically, he realized that reading the scriptures, be it Buddha scripture, or in any scriptures really, Tao Te Ching, there is a surface understanding, a superficial understanding, okay? Reading, just read the words, read it. And then there's the deeper understanding, or the highest level. And the highest level is using your Buddha nature, or from a Buddha nature perspective. That's the whole point of a series of lectures called the Platform Sutra. He also delved into Diamond Sutra, Tao Te Ching, Nirvana Sutra, Surangama Sutra, and what else? Len Yan Jing. Oh, and Heart Sutra, right. So so all these different scriptures that he gave lectures about, he applied the same methodology, if you will, or perspective, the perspective of your Buddha nature in terms of going beyond the words. So that's very important. So I have to talk about this because this lays the foundation for all his lecture materials. That he will always talk about. Hopefully after we translate some of these, but when we finalize these, we'll put it into a MP3 player, a recorder that you can buy and listen to all. Lecturer Liu gave 44 lectures, roughly 2 hours each. 2 hours, roughly, about 2 hours each. An hour and a half to an hour, roughly 100 minutes or so of lectures. 44 of them. So that's a lot. That's a lot. 44 times 100 minutes. That's 4,400 minutes worth of lectures. And that's just on the Platform Sutra. Even though he did talk about, the Surangama a little bit in there, and Diamond Sutra a little bit, but basically it's Platform Sutra. So that's 4,400 minutes worth. So it's worth listening to. So the key point is it's all from the Buddha nature perspective, looking at from our Buddha nature's view, right? Okay, not he'll read the Chinese text. I mean, we translate in English too, and then he'll go and explain it beyond the words. Okay, so that's what we call Buddha nature. That's what we mean by Buddha nature class. Okay, that's what we usually mean. All right. Yes, we study a scripture. We study, in this case, Platform Sutra, but we look at, we learn it, or we study it, or analyze it if you want. Really understand, that's probably a better term. To understand it from a perspective from our Buddha nature. Not from the intellectual or surface point. Not from the, in sociology, I don't know if you guys learned, they call the six dimensions of analysis. I mean, I don't go into this, but one of them, the key one is philosophical or theological, right? Then there's the historical, cultural, social, and practical, and personal, and something else. Anyway, there's six dimensions. But
Psychological?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Okay, that's in university. Okay, that's how they approach things. So we're not looking at from purely philosophical or theological or historical or cultural or social and practical or personal, whatever. Okay, we're not looking at it that way. But most intellectuals, so PhDs, will do it that way. You see what I'm trying to say? That's the difference. I mean, we do look at it from we do introduce a little bit of history, culture, but the key point, the center, the core is always from your Buddha nature. Okay? So what is our Buddha nature? Essentially, that's what we have to understand. What is our Buddha nature? So Lecturer Liu said it took him 30 years after entering the monastery, blah blah blah, and receiving Tao. It took him 30 years to boil down, to if you will, to condense the whole essence of all the 5,000 plus Buddha scriptures. There are 5,000 something Buddha scriptures. Okay, I mean, you go and read 5,000, it'll take you a whole lifetime, if not more. Anyway, he says it condensed to two phrases he used. two phrases. Do not let go of all karmic affinities or karmas, and do not let any single thought arise. Two phrases. He boiled down everything. All the 5,000 scriptures boiled down to those two phrases. And what's he talking about? Your Buddha nature. That's essentially what. If you could do that, if you could let go of all karmic affinities, right, and do not let a single thought means your consciousness. Later on in the lectures, we'll talk about the 8 consciousness, right? You guys will know about that. The 5 skandhas, right? That's the 5th skandha, right? The consciousness. Thoughts come from there, right? Right? That, okay? Do not let that arise. So if you have no thought, so that's why they say no mind, no thought, right? Is our Buddha nature. So what's left is your Buddha nature. You understand? So that's essentially what it boils down to. So we have to use that. So whenever we study scriptures, we have to use our Buddha nature. Right? Not those 6 dimensions, not philosophical, theological. That's fine, but that's superficial. Okay? That's only superficial. Because philosophy comes from what? Our mind. Thought, our consciousness. Theology comes from our notions of, beliefs or principles or notions about God, theories about God, right? Theology, right? Okay, etc., etc. That's all from our mind, not from our Buddha nature. Get it? So that's why it's very important. Okay, so that's why we have to use our Buddha nature. So in his Lecturer Liu's lectures, you'll always hear a recurring phrase. 不生不灭 the Buddha, the true nature or Buddha nature that is non-created, that can neither be created nor destroyed. All right, that's what it means. Okay, everything else from the Buddha nature perspective, even from Buddha's perspective, is considered false. Understand? False. Even though you say, "Oh, how can it be false? I see the sun, I see the galaxy. They exist." Yes, they exist. That's true. But they only exist for a certain time. Right?
Transient.
Right. So even though the galaxy may exist for, I don't know, what the Hubble satellite, they say they spot a galaxy that's further away, that's 14 billion years away. 14 billion light years. That's 14 billion years. That's what they call it, light years, right? That's the distance. That's only 14 billion years. What about a trillion years? I don't know. I mean, would the galaxy still exist after a trillion years? How about a zillion years? I don't know. See, so that's the problem, right? So that's the problem. So that's why, from a Buddha nature's perspective, it's all false because it still has a time limit. Whereas Buddha nature is what? Neither created nor destroyed. That means what? Infinite, infinity, eternity.
It's timeless.
Right. It's beyond time. Right? Actually, it's beyond our human comprehension. And actually, that's why there's the 四季, right? Later on, we'll talk about the 4 phrases. He introduced a little bit in here in the first lecture, but in the future lectures, he'll go into more detail about it. Because that's the, you could say a way to describe your Buddha nature, which is, in a sense, it's not really describing it. It's saying what it is not, okay? Because you can't describe our Buddha nature. That's the problem, okay? But we can feel it. We can feel it. The very fact that you can listen to me proves that you have a Buddha nature. The very fact that you are breathing proves that you have Buddha nature. The very fact that you feel hungry proves that you have Buddha nature. Okay? Whereas a piece of rock cannot feel hunger, cannot hear, cannot sense cold or heat. So it has no Buddha nature. Right? Get it? Okay, so that's different. Alright, so that's that. I just want to lay down the foundation because that's very important. We have to look at it from that perspective. Okay? So I'm going to go very quickly.
If somebody just come, can we just talk about what is Buddha nature?
Oh.
Just quick one, just a few sentences. Yeah.
四季, 用四季. You know what the 四季, right? You know what the 四季? Anybody know what the 4? It's called 4. Well, 四季literally means 4 phrases in Chinese. Okay? But it's in English we translate it as the 4-fold negations, which means 非有, okay?
Let's keep it simple here. 佛性, what is 不生不灭的佛性? Okay? That's our original pure Buddha, pure spirit, without attachment, without sweet poisons, without all those bad habits.
4 images, 10 lives,
Yeah.
3 minds.
Yeah,
But even when you say that, it's still hard to describe.
I know.
It's still hard to describe.
Somebody-
Well, those are examples of what it is not. You have no 4 images, right? 我相, 人相, 众生相, 受相, right? The 4, we call it 4 images even though the direct translation is four forms, but it just means no ego, no personality, no being, and no life. No images of those, okay? Those images. And we can define what that means. The first one, ego, means no sense of I. Personality means sense of you and them, right? You and them, the two opposites, okay? And sense of being means you and many others. And then sense of life is you in the past, present, and future, okay? So that's what it means. But that's kind of complicated too. But no three poisons. We can talk about the three poisons later on, right? It's greed, rage, and we call it ignorance, delusion. Delusion is probably a better word. Okay. Okay. No 10 lives. No 10 lives, which is right the past life, the present life, the future life. And in each of those three lives, there are also subdivisions of past, present, and future, plus the current. So that's 10, okay? All that. But see, that's just telling you what it is not, right? Also, same thing, what it is not, right? Oh, it's not that, not this, not that, not that. Okay, whatever. But it's also the four negations. But maybe that's too philosophical, too deep. It's actually it's really indescribable, and that's the problem. Okay, our Buddha nature, but it exists. Okay, it exists. It's really part. You can say it encompasses all emptiness, Sen Kong. Okay, it encompasses all that. So people say, "Oh, I am I, you are you, they are they, and all the planets, all the galaxies are those." How can you say my Buddha nature encompasses all of that, right? See, we don't understand that. See? Because we have still a sense of discrimination, a sense of ego, I and you, I and them, right? Us and them. So, Buddha nature is not. Remember, Buddha nature is equal. So, all the Buddhas and all the humans, from a Buddha nature perspective, they are the same. You know that? They are the same. There's no differentiation. So, oh, that's holy teacher Buddha nature. That's Siddhartha Buddha nature. That's Bodhidharma Bodhi nature. And that's my Buddha nature. No, there's no such thing. You get it? So that's why. See, it's kind of deep, because it's hard to get from our sense of individuals, right? Individualism versus the sense everybody is one. It's one. So that's why in Zen, you hear a lot of people say we go back to one, 归一 or 复一 or 会 复一 times to return to one. One in the means that Buddha nature, that all the Buddha natures are one. You get it? That's what it means. Okay, that's what it means. All right. So we have to understand that. But over time, but we're starting, right? Unfortunately, from me, you, us, them, right, etc. So we're starting. So that's why we have to learn, right? We have to understand what is, or learn about our Buddha nature. That's why we have to read the scriptures. And essentially, what the scriptures teach is all that. Okay. So let's start. I mean, I'll get to the four negations in the future class, because that gets a little bit more advanced, because it's very advanced. It's really impossible to. But the reason why I won't introduce it now, because I want to use the four negations to describe. There are different schools of thought during that time. That during Siddhartha's time, okay, just like during Confucius' time, there are many different philosophical schools. Okay, there's some people who are especially like the Brahmas, who believe in something that's eternal. There's an eternal being, eternal form. The Brahmas. There's the Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Right, Shiva. Right, those three gods. Right, those three Brahma gods. They believe that they're all. That's in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita. I don't know if you guys heard of that. That's a very famous Hindu classic epic. It's a philosophical epic. The Brahmas believe that there's something that eternal, that never changes. Buddha said, Siddhartha Buddha said, that's wrong. Okay. Then there's some people who deny existence of anything that's permanent. They all just say, hey, nothing is permanent. Nothing is just come and go. Buddha said that's wrong too. Okay. And then there's some people says, oh no, there's something that exists that's permanent and something that that's not permanent. Buddha said that's wrong too. Okay. And then people say, oh no, it's neither. There's nothing that's permanent and nothing that's not permanent. And Buddha said that's also wrong. Okay. So those are called fourfold negations. But I'll talk about it because they address people are called eternalists or atheists, atheists. Existentialists and agnostics. Okay, those four negations are addressing those four groups. Okay, those four types of thoughts. Okay, but I don't want to get into that because we'll just start from the beginning and talk about the Platform Sutra and the sixth patriarch. His monastic title is called Hui Neng, right? Hui Neng. Literally, it means wisdom, capable of wisdom, ability. Wisdom that he has the able wisdom. I don't know, capable wisdom, able wisdom, whatever. Okay, so that's his title. All right. So, but he also happened to be, by the way, the incarnation of the Siddhigarbha. Okay, which is the bodhisattva of the underworld. Okay, right? Last week, 2 weeks ago, we talked about, Johnny talked about the bodhisattva of the sky, right? The sky. Is it sky? Yeah, sky treasure or emptiness or sky, whatever. So he is like the kin brother of Siddhigarbha, who is the opposite, which is the bodhisattva of the earth treasure or the underworld, okay, underworld realm. So anyway, he's the incarnation, by the way. Okay, so let's because first lecture, Lecturer Liu in the first lecture's class, he didn't go beyond first chapter. He I think it was midway. He only stopped. He ended midway. So really, if you were going to read the Platform Sutra, finish chapter 1, you have to go through the first 2 or 3 lectures. Okay, so that's the problem. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. All right, but there's some historical information here, so I'm going to go through very quickly. All right, so okay, before we all know, remember from last year or was it earlier this year? I talked about the class about the lineage of the Tao, right? We talked about Bodhidharma. Remember Bodhidharma? He was the 28th patriarch in India. He came to China to pass on the mandate, right, for Buddhism. Okay, in China, he went to China during the Nanbei Tao, the northern southern dynasty period in China, which is roughly 500 AD, roughly 1,000 years after Siddhartha. Okay, roughly 1,000 years. All right, and at that time, because of the Silk Road, remember the Silk Road back then? Okay. Buddhism was already spread to China already, way before that. Even during the Han Dynasty, roughly 200 AD, 300 years after Buddhism already went to China already through the Silk Road. So Bodhidharma went to China because he knew that Buddhism was already in China. Okay, was already well established, already had maybe 800 years of history, 800 years of history there. So he wanted to pass on the mandate to next patriarch. Okay, I'm going to skip that. So he went to China. I just used that to give a time frame. He went to China roughly 526 AD. Okay, now before then, there were other Buddhist monks. Yeah, you can say monks or not patriarchs, but monks. You can say or Buddhist. Scholars or cultivators from India that also visited China. You know that? There was one of them, and I want to get to the history part, which is talk about the prophecy. It's called what's his name? It's called 资要三藏. Anybody know who that is? 资要三藏, right? 自要，智慧的智，药品的药。Okay, the name the English translation is hard to pronounce, so I'm not going to attempt it. Okay, but he was like a master. He was a I think they call it a Tripitaka master or Tripitaka. Yeah, that means the Sanzang, right? Sanzang is Tripitaka, right? Anybody know what Tripitaka means? Tripitaka means basically the 3 types of teachings, dharmas of the Buddha. Okay, there's the sutras. There are the sutras. That's one of them. That's the one Tripitaka. One of the Tripitaka means baskets. Literally, it means baskets. Okay, but 3 baskets, 3 categories of dharma. The Tripitaka, which is made up of the sutras, the Vinayas, which is the jie, talk about the the precepts, and then the third one is called the Abhidharma, which is the 叫什么论言 that's the commentary 论言论语那不是论语论言the commentaries it's called the Abhidharmas. Okay, those are the so this patriarch not patriarch he's a master. This point he came to China before Bodhidharma, roughly 500 AD. Okay, he came to China and he visited this place near Caoxi. Is it Caoxi? Whatever. It's in what's that province? Not like Henan. Is it Henan? Yeah, Caoxi. Caoxi is nice. Anyway, it's someplace in South Central China. It's in South Central China. And he visited there. So he supposedly saw the mountains and the forest, and he said, "Wow, this is very, very auspicious place. It's a very appropriate place for what he called a aranya. Aranya means a holy place, a monastery, a monastic place. There was no monastery built then. Okay, it was just a empty place. And he drank, he supposedly drank the water. He says, it reminded him of India, blah blah blah. So it's a very good place. And he told his Chinese counterparts or whatever that in the future you could build a monastery here. And then he also brought a branch of a Bodhi tree, and he planted there. And they say today you could still see that Bodhi tree. I don't know if you could. That's over 1,000+ years ago, 1,500 years old. But anyway, supposedly. And he said he made two. Well, yeah, he made a prophecy. He says 170 years later, after him, there will be a master, okay, a patriarch, a master who will spread the teaching very well to everybody throughout China. Okay, so he was talking about 6th patriarch. Okay, but 6th patriarch, don't forget, was not born until 638 AD. So this is 100 and almost 40 something years before. Okay, so he also, I think there was an inscription on a tablet that he said that. Okay, and supposedly it was recorded by one of the court officials who was recorded in one of the dynasties, king, whatever. Anyway, so he made that prophecy. Okay, that this place is worthy to become a monastery, a beautiful monastery. It's in Caoxi, and he's called it because he says the forests are very beautiful or whatever. So he called it Bao Ling. Okay, Bao. That Bao means treasure, precious. Forest, because there's a lot of trees. This is in the in the hills, in the mountains. Okay, but the mountains are very pretty today. And so later on, when 6th patriarch arrived, they did build a monastery, and they call it the same thing called Baoling, and that's why. As a matter of fact, today in China, you could go visit it. Okay, you could go see it. All right. So anyway, so that's the story. So that's the history. Okay, that's the ancient history. So go back 170 years later, after Bodhidharma came, 526 AD. He passed on the mandate to the 2nd patriarch, Hui Ke or Shen Guang, right? Shen Guang Hui Ke. Yeah. Okay. And then from the 2nd one, it passed on to all the way to the 5th or Hong Ren, right? That's it. So the 5th patriarch resided in a monastery in the not north, but north central China. Okay, so this is around 620 AD, 650, about 650 AD, middle 600s. Okay, so Huineng, or our sixth patriarch to be, he was born in 638 AD during the I think that's but I think that's already during the Tang Dynasty. Yeah, that's already during the Tang Dynasty. Okay, 638. Okay, so his father was used to be a court official, but he got demoted and he got sent along with his family to what we call the border or frontier lands, okay, of the dynasty, of the empire. And in those days, the frontier land, one of the frontier land was what we call present day Guangdong province. Guangdong province, where Hong Kong is, or near Hong Kong, but okay, anyway. So that's in the south. It's in the southern part of China. Okay, it's close to Vietnam. Okay, so that's where his father ended up. Okay, because his father got demoted, and his father died when he was very young. Okay, and so his mother had to support him, right? Okay, and so they lived a very you can say a pretty poor life. Okay, pretty poor life, and because his father died early, so they didn't have enough money, so his mother could not send him to school. So that's why Hui Neng, okay, ever since he was young, he had to work to supplement, right? Living with his mother's live. So he worked as a woodcutter, okay, woodcutter, right? Okay, a lumberman, woodcutter. So he didn't go to school, so therefore he was illiterate. Yeah, okay. So one day, I think in his teens, right? He was probably in his teens, early teens, late teens. He delivered some wood to one of his customers. Okay. Wait. Let me step back. There was a story about. Let me say, when he was born, there was something very, very strange. You could say peculiar, very peculiar when he was born. Okay. Supposedly, when he was born, flowers fell from the sky, and then there was a very fragrant smell in the room, and there was a bright light, or some kind of light, holy light, whatever, in that room when he was born. And then two strangers, they say it was two monks. We don't know who they are. Two people showed up at the door. I think the morning after or whatever, and told. And that time his father was still alive, obviously, right? Because he was just born. So and asked to come and see the child. And the father was surprised. Says, "How do you know that there was a child?" They say, "Oh, we know, but we want to see the child because." And they made a prophecy too. They made a prediction. They say, "For this child, it's very special. Very special. For one day he will become very great. Very famous, very well known. In other words, he'll become like they didn't mean that he will be an emperor or something like that, but meant that he'll become a master, like a Buddha. Okay, like a Buddha." Right? So they gave him the child's name, Hui Neng. Okay, that's how the name came about. Okay, his birth name was not Hui Neng. Okay, all right. So that's why they gave him the name. And then after they saw the child, they gave the blessing, they gave the name, they told the father to give that child that name, Hui Neng, and then they left. Then the father was wondering, hey, how do these people know that? I have a child here that's born, whatever. And then he went to look for them. They disappeared. So we don't know who they are. So, they could be messengers for all we know. All right. So anyway, that's a very auspicious story. Okay. Very. Yeah.
Actually, the Hui means that he's going to bestow Dharma upon all sentient beings. And the Neng, which means ability, is able to do that. Buddha's work.
Yeah. That's what the. Anyway, so it's a very. When you read these stories, it reminds you of the story of Jesus too. How come you have three messengers from the east, visit, all that stuff. Very similar to Buddha's too, birth story too. But anyway, that we don't need to go into detail. But it's all very, very. You can say it's very different, very special, right? Very, very unique. Okay, because he was a special person. Anyway, so later on. Obviously his father died early, so so he was pretty poor anyway. So he had to earn a living as a woodcutter. So what he did was, one day he delivered a pile of wood to a customer, and then as he was, after he was paid, he was leaving. He heard one of his customers reciting a sutra, and it happened to be the Diamond Sutra, okay, because that was very popular back then. and he instantly, Hui Neng, instantly became enlightened and realized that, oh, what the Diamond Sutra is talking about our Buddha nature, our true nature, our true nature, our Buddha nature. So he, even though he cannot read, okay, he was illiterate, remember? So he asked the practitioner who was reciting, said, oh, what sutra were you reciting? He says, oh, it's a Dharma Sutra. And he asked him, well, where did you find it? Where did you get it? Oh, he says he went to a monastery in the north, and Huangmei Monastery, and there was a patriarch there, Hongren, which is the fifth patriarch. He had over 1,000 disciples, and he was very famous. And I went there to pay my respects, and he gave me a copy of the Dharma Sutra for me, and he told me to recite it, chant it constantly, for it will lead me to salvation, etc., etc. Okay, so that when the when Hui Neng heard that, because he was already after hearing the Dharma Sutra, he became enlightened. He realized what his true purpose in life is already. Okay, he realized that. So he asked him, "Oh, where can I find this? This fifth patriarch? Because I want to go. I want to go too." Okay, but unfortunately, he's still very poor. Right? He's illiterate. He's poor. He has to take care of his mother. His mother is already pretty old. And then, surprise! Another auspicious event. A total stranger, turned around. When a stranger heard Hui Neng express that desire to go visit the monastery up north, gave him a 10 taels, supposedly 10 ounces or a pound worth of silver. Back then, that's a lot of money. Okay, silver, it's a lot of money. Okay, so it's very interesting. Very, wow, and Lecturer Liu talked about in detail. He said it's our karmic blessing. Okay, it's because we, in the previous life, if we do good, and this is important, one of the maybe important things about Wu Wei, okay, about what we call what's true merit. 真的功德是什么, right? The true merit is what? Okay, the true merit is you do good things. That's true. That's like, doing charitable goods or, help the needy, whatever. That's good. But on top of that, in addition, you cannot have any attachments or any thoughts about it. That's what true merit is all about. Okay? So if you do that, if you have that, that means what we call 福报的福田, right? 田 literally means rice field or field. In English, in Buddhism, they translate as the field of merits. It just means it's called any type of practice or conduct that is called good, that leads to true merit. That leads to true merit, which means that there's no attachment, right? That's Wu Wei. It's called Wu Wei, right? That's what Wu Wei. Non-attached conducts or meritorious and virtuous deeds. Okay, that's what Fu Tian means. So what sixth patriarch happened was in the previous life, because he's accumulated so much merits, so that and remember, these merits are not limited. They're not limited. Okay, so that in the future life, if you need something, if there's a need for something, it'll come. It'll arrive. So that's what Lecturer Liu explained it as that. And Hui Neng explained it that way too, that, it must come from his previous karma. Okay, which is true. In other words, things just don't happen randomly. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, so that's get that team. Okay, so anyway, so he received the 10 ounces of silver, so he was able to therefore, he found a good place, better place for his mother to stay, so he took care of his mother's needs. Okay, he bought, clothes, food, etc., supplies for that, so that his mother could survive on her own without him, right? Okay, and then he embarked on his journey to the north to visit that monastery, right? Huangmei Monastery up north, and it took him supposedly about 30 days, roughly 30 days, a month of walking. Those days they walk. Okay, they don't ride a bus. Okay, they don't ride a car, they walk. Okay, so it took him 30 days. So when he arrived at the monastery, he heard the, at that time the fifth patriarch, or right, Hongren was conducting he was in the main hall, so he was giving a lecture, I guess. And so he came right and came straight to the fifth patriarch, and the fifth patriarch said, "Who are you? Who are you? Because remember, Huineng was, he was poor. He's kind of short, skinny, okay, and so the fifth patriarch, saw him. Oh, this is a stranger. Obviously he's not from the area. So he asked him, say, "Who are you?" And so Huineng said, "Oh, I came from the south. I came from the south, from the frontier land. From the frontier land. From the barbaric lands. Okay, from the barbaric lands." So the fifth patriarch responds, say, he wanted to test him, right? Test his wisdom, right? Because the fifth patriarch, he's already a Buddha. He knows who he is, but he wanted to test him. So he asked him, people from the frontier lands, they're all barbarians. They're not civilized. They're uncivilized. That's what barbarian means. You know that, right? It's a Greek, meaning non-Greeks, okay, which means, they're not civilized, okay? So how can an uncivilized person come to want to become my disciple and learn about Buddha? You're a barbarian. You're not eligible. You're not qualified. So Huineng replied, and see, this is his wisdom. He said, although I forgot the exact phrase. It means that there are people from the south, people from the north, people have different appearances, but our Buddha nature is all the same. See, that's very great. See, probably a lot of his disciples don't know how to, could not even say that. You see what I'm saying? Or not that. So when fifth patriarch heard that, Hongren heard that, he knew that, oh, this person is special. Okay. So Hongren said, okay, all right, fine. So, okay. But why do you want to come here to learn? What do you want to learn? What do you want to learn? And what did Huineng respond? God, is another very high level. He says, nothing. I don't want to learn anything else but to be a Buddha. Nothing but to be a Buddha, but become a Buddha. Wow. So he was focused. So I mean, that was his intent, right? So this just shows that even though for an illiterate person, right, his wisdom, right? You can say his wisdom, or his you can say his degree, his level of of understanding of the Buddha nature is extremely high. You understand? He says, I don't want to learn anything but become a Buddha. That's it. So when the fifth patriarch heard that, he realized that, okay, this person is special. But he at the same time, he knew that this person was still, I would say not naive. I don't say naive, but he was too, you can say naive, but he does not know the ways of the human world, okay? All right, because he was illiterate, right? And he came from the frontier land, okay? He's like, call it a country bumpkin like that, okay? So he wanted to protect him because he realized that there are people in his monastery, other disciples, who would be jealous of him. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So therefore he told him, okay, fine, because you can stay. So the fifth patriarch told Huineng, you can stay, but you know what? Go work in the kitchen. Go work in the kitchen. Don't come to the lecture hall. Go work in the kitchen. Get lost and go work there. So the guy say, so Huineng say, I want to learn to become a Buddha. What is there to learn in the kitchen to become a Buddha? Doesn't make sense. But he just kept that to himself. So he bowed, and he went to the kitchen. All right, so he was there for like 8 months or so, almost a year. Yeah, almost a year. Not less than a year. But so he worked very hard. He was just doing nothing but getting rice, right, taking the rice, and taking out the husk, right, and pounding it, right, to make a flour, to make it to flour, right, rice flour or whatever. Okay, so that's all he was doing. Okay, that's his whole work. He worked in the kitchen. So he did not learn. He did not read the scriptures. He did not learn anything. He did not hear any of the lectures. Okay. So meanwhile, the fifth patriarch, was giving lectures, and he had a what we call a chief disciple, chief disciple. His name was Shen Xiu, right? Who studied for a long, long time, and he's very educated, very, 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 very literate, very, read many of the sutras many times over, whatever, maybe can memorize them or whatever. So anyway, one day, fifth patriarch, and this is kind of important part of the story, which is fifth patriarch, one day called his disciples together at the lecture hall and said, "There's one thing that's the most important, that's most fundamental in our lives that nothing can that can surpass. And what is that thing? What is that thing? Come on, what is that thing? To become rich? No. To become famous? No. To become powerful like an emperor? No. That's not the most important thing. Even though for many, maybe, okay? Those may be. So what did he say? Life and death. Death. Lao Tzu also said the same thing, but anyway. Death. Right? Death. It's very important. Well, life and death. Birth and death. Okay? Birth and death. I think that's what his phrase was. It's very important. Yeah, birth and death. Yeah, or life and death. Birth and death. Okay? And why is that? Because once you die, I don't care how rich, how famous, how powerful you are, you can't take that with you. You can't take your money with you. You can't take your fame with you. You can't take your power with you. Right? It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. So that's why life, birth and death is the most important. So he goes, unfortunately, a lot of you, all you do is recite the sutras, but you are pursuing what we call 福报. He's talking about 福报, which is just good karmic right, results or good karmic deeds. Right, you want to get good karma, and so that means what Fifth Patriarch is saying is basically saying that even though you are his disciples, right, you are reciting the sutras, chanting the sutras, etc. You are following the precepts of a monk, etc., or nuns, but you will still what? Reincarnate. You understand? Reincarnate. Right. That's why you have 福报, right? 福报, right? That's why you get good karmic returns.
Reward.
Yeah, rewards. Good karmic, rewards. Right. So you get 福报. You will, but you cannot escape reincarnation. That's the problem. So what the fifth patriarch was trying to tell his disciples says, the whole purpose, the whole point of becoming a nun or a monk or learn the Buddha, learn the scriptures is to what? Transcend reincarnation. What really, basically what Huineng said at the very beginning, right? To become a Buddha, in other words. Okay? So he said, okay, because, the fifth patriarch at that time is already getting pretty old, okay? So he says, now it's the time that I need to pass on my mandate. I need to pass on my robe and the bowl. Remember, that started from Bodhidharma, right? Remember Bodhidharma? That's why I have to introduce Bodhidharma, because Bodhidharma started that, literally he carried on the tradition from India, from Siddhartha, where you pass on the ibu, right? Ibu, the bo, the robe and the bowl, the alms bowl, the begging bowl to your successor, to the next successor. Then that person will become the patriarch. You get it? That's how it passes on. That's just an external form, because unfortunately people have to have that because they need to say, oh, I want proof that you are the patriarch. You see? So they say, oh, okay, if you have the patriarch's bowl, begging bowl, alms bowl, and the robe, then you are. Okay. But actually, what really is to pass on the mandate. The three treasures and the mandate. Really, that's what it is. Okay? But those are invisible, obviously, right? Those are not written down, right? Okay? So anyway, so he said, time is going to come soon for him to pass on the mandate, the e-bowl, the robe, and the begging bowl to my successor. So he says, in order to do that, though, you have to pass a test. So he says, each one of you, go back to your rooms and come up, write a short, like a poem, or a few sentences to explain what you understand about enlightenment. Okay, about all about all what you've learned. Okay, write a short stanza, short phrase to show me, how what you know, what you understand. Okay? And then that's it. Then he says, then he goes, okay, that's it. Come back next time. Okay? So all the monks, there are 1,000 of them, okay? Literally 1,000 of them. 1,000 monks, nuns, whatever, okay? They're all scratching their head and say, wow. Yeah, is that the Baoling? Yeah, that's Baoling. But that's later. That's the sixth patriarch. Yeah, that's later on. That's in China, right? That's literally in China. That's recent, right? That's recent? Okay. Yeah, we'll talk. Well, I don't know if I have time to get there, but I'm trying to go very fast. But anyway, so all the monks there, right, and the nuns, they all say, you know what? We're not eligible. We can't. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to express, what I've learned, or what I know about my Buddha nature. They probably don't know what their Buddha nature is. So they all say, oh, you know what? We'll ask our eldest brother, our eldest chief disciple, Shen Xiu. Ask him to write for us. And then, of course, since he's the most educated, most learned, and the oldest disciple, I'm sure we're all sure that he can write a very good phrase or whatever, and the fifth patriarch will grant him the bow and the robe, right? So all the pressure is now on Shen Xiu. Poor guy, poor Shen Xiu. Okay, so Shen Xiu really had a rough time. But Lecturer Liu talked about a lot of, and in the Platform Sutra, you'll read about it. There's probably a page or two describing, how he sweated and he tried like 13 times. I don't know how many times to try to go to there and write out. So he finally came up with a 4-line stanza. Okay, 4-line stanza. All right, and so but he was not. Here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. He was not sure. He still had doubts. See, this already tells you. If you know from Buddha nature, you know that he was not using his Buddha nature. Okay, you know that because he already had doubts. Okay, so he said, you know what? Yeah, okay, that's what it is. Yeah. He says, you know what? I'm not so sure if this is good or good enough for fifth patriarch. And he goes, you know what? I'm afraid to say it out open at the lecture hall to our fifth patriarch. So, you know what? I'll write it down at night, at midnight, on a wall where I know by the side of the lecture hall, where I know fifth patriarch will always walk by in the morning. He can read it. So when fifth patriarch reads it, he can then tell me whether or not I reached that level of understanding to deserve to receive the robe and the begging bowl. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so he's at the midnight, sneaky. He will sneak. So he wrote on a chalk, right, on the wall. He wrote what? 身是菩提树，心如明镜台词 right? 明镜台诗 yeah. Okay. That's it. Okay. So our body is a Bodhi tree and our mind is a mirror bright. Okay. At all times, polish it diligently. Right. Okay. And let no dust alight. Okay. So that's what he wrote. Okay. And it's pretty good. It's not the highest, but it's not bad. It's yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's not bad. It's beyond most people. Let's put it this way. It's probably beyond 99% of the people. Okay. It's about 99. It's beyond 99 because he was using a form. You see, he was using a form to describe our Buddha nature. Understand? Okay. And what the form? He says, our body is like a Bodhi tree. It's the Puti Su. I mean, it's like the Buddha nature, represents our Buddha nature. And he goes, our mind is like a bright mirror, right? Like a bright mirror. So that's why he's talking about our Buddha nature. It's a bright mind, okay? Bright mirror. So he said, we must, what? Diligently clean it, so that no dust, in other words, no contamination or no defilements. In Buddhism, they call it defilements. Can what? Stain it. You understand? So he was using a form, in other words, a mirror, an image of a mirror to describe our Buddha nature. So that's pretty good. That's not bad. Most people would still probably wouldn't understand what our Buddha nature is anyway. Okay, so he wrote, okay, so to make a long story short, fifth patriarch in his morning walk, he did read it. But then he realized, fifth patriarch, like what I just explained, he realized that whoever wrote this, he knew it was Senshu, but he wrote this, still did not go beyond the highest level, okay? He still abided, or that means he still is attached to a form. He used the mirror, you see what I'm saying? To describe our Buddha nature. You get it? So, but then he did not say, oh, so he called everybody. He called everybody. He said, yeah, he called everybody. He said, later on. Yeah, but he called everybody. He said, everybody, this is pretty good. This is very good. So go and memorize it. Go and memorize it and try to remind yourself. And then that's it. Then later on, he asked Sen Shu to come to his room. And he asked Sen Shu, did you write it? And Sen Shu said, yes. Say yes. Now, there's a story. Sen Shu, when Sen Shu, before he wrote this, he had some very crazy thoughts. He had already desire. He already had a desire to want to get the robe and the arms bow. You understand? And so already Sen Shu already deviated from the true path. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because he already had a desire. See? And that desire is what? It's from our 5 skandhas. Remember? Anybody know what 5 skandhas are? Right? The 5 skandhas? No, but that's chapter 1. This is chapter 1. This is the 第一课就是这样了。第一课就是在这里。Oh, yeah. But anyway, so the 5th Patriarch told Sen Shu openly that because even though what you wrote is very good, but you still did not transcend the form, so you are still not eligible to receive his robe and the bowl. But he told him that what you did is still very good, but you should continue. He encouraged him to continue. So Sen Shu was very discouraged. Anyway, he left. But now we have to step back. This method is not bad, but it does not allow you to instantly become enlightened. It's called the gradual school, 渐修. Okay, that's why that method we have to constantly, right, all times polish it diligently. It's called 渐修, means gradual cultivation. Understand? So that's called the lower vehicle, 下乘法, 小乘法. Understand? So you have to know that teacher. Then unfortunately the class is over, but next lecture we will talk about 6 Hui Neng's response to that. Okay? All right. So we'll leave it. That's basically lecture 1.